Welcome back to my channel. I'm Andrea. It's nice to have you guys here. Today I have a little bit of an office update. So I'm still working on things. I'm still tweaking things. At some point, maybe later this year, there will be like a full revised office tour of this whole space. But for now, I wanted to update you on this space behind me because it has seen a massive change over the last week. My office now looks fairly different from what it looked like in my last office tour, which was ages ago. So I am due for an update of the whole space, but it's not completely done, so I'm kind of taking this in stages. I've redone the space in front of me that you can't see before the summer session started at school, before I started teaching summer school. And I've been living with that and loving that, and I'm still organizing and like tweaking things there as well. But this space behind me was kind of just left as a pile in a corner. I knew that instead of having two desks like I'd had before, I wanted to just kind of streamline things even further. I wanted one desk, not two. At one point I had two desks and a craft table, and that second desk and the craft table just got piled with stuff because what I really needed was storage. I needed to downsize and declutter, but then what was left being stored on this wall didn't need a second desk. It needed bookshelves and it needed a storage space. So when I redid the office in the summer, I moved the white IKEA desk over to the wall in front of me, and I started piling everything in this corner, stuff that I knew I wanted to keep and that needed to be organized properly so that I could get a sense of what kind of storage system, storage unit, bookshelf, cabinet, like whatever I needed. And so I was left with a fairly decent pile, but I did get rid of a lot, and I still have a pile off to this side that I'm not going to show you that still needs to be gone through, but that's papers and files and things that I just need to really kind of sift through one by one. So gonna get to that later, but for now, with the fall semester starting, I really needed not only a nicer looking backdrop behind me, because I'm teaching one of my classes entirely on Zoom, so I didn't want just a random pile of stuff behind me, but also these are all things that I need access to. So I'm going to take you on a tour of the shelf in a second. So these are all things that I need to be able to have within easy reach, easy access for either teaching or for my writing, or just to have something pretty behind me. The problem that I ran into as I was starting to realize or start to look at shelving units and storage units, the ones that I liked, I couldn't afford, and the ones I could afford, I didn't like. And I didn't want to buy something cheap but ugly when I already had some of these items, storage items behind me. I already owned them. So the only thing I've bought is this shelf, and as you'll see in a second, this shelf is sitting on top of a table, the old table that I had, and then this shelf I already owned. So I've got two bookshelves sitting on top of an IKEA table. So it's kind of like a table with a hutch kind of thing on top. So this storage, this little shelf, 3-shelf bookcase came from Amazon, and I think it cost me like $38. So not that much. I knew I didn't really want to spend more than $100 total, but I couldn't find any like complete storage system for under $100 that would fit everything and look decent. So I feel like from here, from just below the frame isn't the prettiest, as you'll see, but from here up, what you can see when I'm filming or when I'm on Zoom does look nicer. So, and everything below is contained. I wish there were doors, kind of. So I'm debating putting like some kind of tablecloth or fabric covering little curtain thing. We'll see, but I might just redo some of the boxes I have under there. I'm going to take the camera off the tripod and kind of walk you through everything, talk you through everything, and show you up close how I have things stored. Okay, so to give you a rough idea, here's kind of what we're dealing with. I'm still deciding if I'm going to take that down, decorate it more, and put it back up, or if I'm just going to take it down completely. It's kind of hard to get up there, so it's not something where it would be functional. It'd be more for decorative purposes. So we'll see what happens with the cork board. Coming down here, I've got my file cabinet with some rose gold file kind of boxes, wire boxes. So these still need to be gone through. Right now these are notebooks and my Ted Baker folio, and these are some files. I have a few different file boxes, so what I'm wanting is this to be kind of all writing related. My file cabinet is kind of archive stuff. And then just showing you really quick over here, I've got a file box in here that is going to be more life admin and teaching stuff, or I might do teaching and writing and then life admin behind me in the other one. So the files are still going to get organized a bit. Underneath the desk, I've got two white storage boxes that are camera and tech related. So this is more tech boxes, original packaging, because I keep those because they've got all the proof of purchases and manuals and things like that. And then this box is all of my camera accessories. I've got trash can, we'll move that out of the way. And then in here I've got a few things. So my old laptop, some office decorations for kind of switching it up through the seasons, a lot of just like folders and dividers and things like that. And then that one is empty. And then I've got some cases up there. My sewing machine and my serger are under here as well. And then I've got some art supplies and a second tripod. So kind of trying to keep all of this stuff contained under here. But I would like to get better boxes for my sewing machines so that they can be stored a little bit differently under there, because I want to be able to access them, but I don't use them on a regular basis right now. I could also potentially store them up above so that they're slightly more on display but still out of the way. So I'm just living with things a little bit to see how I get on. Starting up above, I've got some storage boxes. So the one on top is an old jewelry box that has some of my jewelry making supplies. My other jewelry making supplies, beads and stuff, are in here. So basically the findings, all the chains and clasps and clips and things like that, wires are in there, and then the beads are in here. This box is empty at the moment, so there's room for the stuff in there. And then this is all other general craft supplies. My glue gun, glitter, sequins, rhinestones, some paint, that sort of thing. I've got a rose gold wire basket of notebooks here, and then a few notebooks standing on this shelf. This shelf I had to put kind of, it's the shortest shelf because I needed to make room for tall boxes down here and then for some of these taller books on this shelf. So this shelf doesn't fit most of my books. I've grabbed a couple fashion books there, and then I've got these wood boxes. This one down here has all of my colored pencils in it, and this is an old file box that belonged to my grandfather. So I have no idea how old this box is. There's a stamp on the bottom, but I don't see a date. But it's just an old file box. So I'm not doing anything with it yet, but I might turn it into, like, I don't know, writing ideas, like story ideas or something like that. I do want to use it because I love that it belonged to my grandfather, and it's nice to have it kind of more on display. I've got a little ceramic squirrel, and then this cup has some matches and things for lighting candles, and then I've just got a little old candle jar with some chocolates in there. This is the shelf that I feel like I'm still trying to get right. I know I really want the boxes and the squirrel on here, but the rest of it I'm still playing with. Coming down to this shelf, I've got a picture of Tamsin and I in Hyde Park. That was the day that we met for the first time in person. I've got a whole bunch of my books on display, or my book, multiple copies of my book on display. I like having author copies so that if I need to send one off to someone, like I need to this week, I've got a bunch already stocked up. I don't have to order more because they do take a while to order, so I'm learning it's good to just have, you know, at least 5 or 10 copies so that you've got a bunch on hand if you do need to send some to someone for review purposes or something. I've got some of my favorite blogger and Instagrammer books. All of these are bloggers and Instagrammers. And then some of my favorite Kate and Megan related books. And then I've got a London home book. So some of these books, like the London books, are really good for if I'm needing some inspiration while I'm writing. I can flip these open and have pretty pictures to inspire me. On the bottom shelf, I've got some taller notebooks, some of which I'm using, some of which I'm not. I've got my dissertation and a book on or by Catherine Walker, who designed for Princess Diana. This has some calligraphy and coloring books in it. And then most of these aren't full. So this one has notebooks. This one is kind of got envelopes. And this one has sewing machine manuals, so I'm probably going to put those somewhere else and then fill this with kind of office supplies and things like that. On the kind of, I don't know, desk table space at the front, I've got a couple decorations. So I've got my telephone box, which has just been buried in the corner of my other bookcase, so it's kind of nice to have it out a little bit more on display. And then on this side I have these faux peonies in an old candle jar, my notes folio, which has my daily overview notepad for when I need that. These, this notebook and this folio are related to the book, so all of my book notes are in there. And then this is a book that I need to package up and send off to someone, so this won't live here forever, but it's there right now to remind me to do it. On this little mini shelf on the side, I've got a couple more notebook folios and then all of my pen cases in here, and then this is a notebook / pen case, so that's in there. I've just kind of attached this luggage tag. It says Paris is always a good idea. And then this shelf is teaching related things and books that I need to have on hand for lesson planning and for research and stuff like that. And then I've moved this over here. This was also kind of just buried on my other shelf, and it's an award that some of my old acting students gave me back when I used to teach an Acting 1 class. So I kind of like having that out where I can see it to remind me that I'm actually not that bad of a teacher. I think I'm okay. But they were really sweet, and it was inscribed. I loved the inscription. It says, greatest teacher ever, spring 2011, for not only teaching us more about theater, but more about ourselves. So that was really, really sweet of them. And I like that it gets to have kind of a nice little spot there. And then on the bottom shelf here, I've got some shorter notebooks that are empty, so these are blank. And then I've got a book on lettering, a few copies of Blogosphere magazine, some business-related books. I've got my Charmed Life master planner in this ring-bound case that I'm going to take this apart so that it can be ring-bound instead. That's just kind of sitting in there, waiting until I can finally get around to it. So that's kind of how that looks. So overall, I'm really happy with how this whole space is turning out. I really love how this turned out behind me. Now when I turn around to get something, I don't like cringe. It actually makes me smile and makes me really happy. So I'm still figuring out some of the organizing, but for now, all of this I'm kind of wanting to just live with and see how it works. So some of these shelves might get moved around. Other things might get moved around. I want to see how things look when I'm filming, test out different filming angles, filming setups. Like, do I film from this direction so that I'm off to this side? Do I film with the camera more over in this direction with other parts of the bookcase visible? So I'm still figuring all of that out, but now like this whole desk space, like the 180 from my monitor over here kind of around to over here just makes me really happy. And I'm kind of kicking myself for not doing this from the beginning. I should have had some kind of storage bookshelf situation here from the beginning. I never needed a desk and a craft table. I moved in here at the start of my PhD. I don't know what possessed me to think I would ever have time to do crafts and sewing. So I'll never get rid of my sewing machines, but I just don't think anytime soon I'm really going to be able to do any sewing. So it makes more sense to just have them stored away and not sitting on a tabletop mocking me that I can't use them. I've been getting rid of a lot so that I can really enjoy the things that I'm keeping. So in terms of things like the sewing stuff and the craft stuff and the beading stuff that I've kept, I've limited them to like the 2 boxes of jewelry making stuff that are divided between the finding supplies, so the clasps and the chains and things like that, in my mom's old jewelry box, and then the beads, which are in the other box at the top, and then the larger box of craft supplies. You know, if I do something where I need a glue gun, I don't want to get rid of my glue gun, but I also don't need to keep there's lots of random stuff that I was keeping for just in case. I've been getting rid of like a lot of fabric and a lot of trim. So the only sewing supplies I'm keeping other than the sewing machines down below here is only what fits in the vintage sewing box that I bought last year in Bisbee. So thread, needles, safety pins, buttons, things like that I'm keeping, but they've got to fit in that box. So it's kind of been about deciding what amount of stuff I want to keep, finding a box or a storage system that will contain it, and then really limiting myself to only what will fit in that space. So that's kind of been my approach. So yeah, that's kind of where this is at. So this is my office update, not a full office tour, but it is an update, particularly on this back storage system, because you are going to start seeing this in a few more videos. I hope you liked this. I hope you enjoyed taking a peek behind these shelves. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. I really appreciate that. Say hi in the comments. Let me know how you're doing, and I will see you all soon in the next video. Thank you very much for watching this one. Bye-bye.